Oh, you on it?
You're just like a little kid.
No, I'm talking. You're live. I'm talking.
Oh my God.
Defense of the Animal. That'd be good to read.
Junior, you paying attention till 7 o'clock?
Mm-hmm. Abraham Lincoln's a House Divided speech.
We're almost there, folks.
I feel like I should be saying something good.
Hey, it's 7 o'clock.
All right, I can talk again.
Welcome to Thursday Night Tavern Talk with Jack and Dennis. Please stand for a pledge of allegiance.
All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you.
No more peace.
No.
Okay, we're gonna sit. Mike's not here.
I'm going to say that for Mike.
Mike's
then.
Mike's visiting his grandkids. Say hello to everybody, Mike.
Hope you had a good time up there.
I'm sure he will. He's got his grandkids. Gotta get him on top of this carpet here.
Yeah.
So we're in our new room. No window back here.
Oh yeah, there's no window.
Mm-hmm.
Looks
Dennis
good.
put a new extension on his house. So
And we have our own little man cave.
yeah. One of these days we'll have to show you when we get everything put up on the walls. We got a few old
Different things put up.
copies of old documents and stuff. Nothing original. But
You know. So in previous shows, we've informed everyone about Russia, China, Iran, the axis of evil,
yeah.
and what their intentions are regarding our great country. You know, the three of them hate us for their own reasons. They hate our way of life.
Because it's great and they suck.
Got that right.
I dropped my paper.
That's okay. There's more for read it. You know, most of our politicians tell us we should not fear a war, but the warning signs have been there for several years. And politicians fail to tell us the top secret intelligence. They keep it for themselves. In my opinion, this is the beginning of the new world order we've been hearing about for a long time.
A century.
And that starts with population control. You know, all countries want to reduce the size of their population because it's easier to control the people. When countries go to war, just look at Ukraine. Infrastructure is destroyed.
Well, I tell you the truth, they've been going after Ukraine since World War I because it's the breadbacks of Europe.
Yep.
That country's been under the thumb for a long
You
time.
know? So cities get destroyed, civilians die. But that's what happens in a war zone. People die. I think we'll be at war a lot sooner than we think. The last few days, this is what I've read. Joe Biden meeting with Saudi Arabia and Israel about Iran and their nuclear ambitions. Can't let them have nuclear weapons, he said. Iran sending drones to Russia with missile capability to help them conquer Ukraine. Putin meeting with Iran and Turkey about the resources they can offer, like airspace and such. China telling the United States to stay out of Taiwan. He told the administration specifically, don't send Pelosi on that visit, that she wants to go later this year. We'll see what she does. Russia making threats to get Alaska that they sold to us. They want Alaska back. We can't let them have Alaska. There's so many natural resources there. We can't give it up. Alaska could supply us oil for centuries, for generations. All this administration has to do is allow companies to drill again. That's it, plain and simple. This way, when the war starts, a barrel of gas won't be over $500, which experts think may even go higher than that. So each day, we hear more and more threats coming from these foreign countries. The problem is, again, the politicians. It rests squarely on their shoulders because it's every federally elected politician. I don't believe these congressional members or their current administration can find a way out of a local store with it empty.
No.
They're that bad.
Well, 48% of them don't know the three branches of government.
Right.
And that's their job.
Or the Constitution.
They're part of a branch of government.
Yep. See, all these politicians care about is getting a win for their party. Not the people, but the party. You know, and when you put party over people, our entire country loses. We've seen it the past 40 years. Politicians don't care if we go to war. They will hide under their desks and send everyone else to fight their battles. Moms and dads, sons and daughters will die for this new world order politicians perceive as best for society. Not what's best for us, not what we want. That should send chills all over your body. All we want to do is live in peace. And most of you, will make any excuse not to get involved to save this country. Oh, it's going to take too much work. Oh, I believe the Democrats. I believe the Republicans. You got to wake up, people. You'd rather lay down and fight for nothing. That's fine. That's on you.
What did Benjamin Franklin say? Those that are willing to give up a few freedoms for security deserve neither freedom nor security.
Yep.
Benjamin Franklin.
Hey, if you want to follow those politicians, remember, when this country falls because of these politicians, both Democrat and Republicans, I hope you can look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself and your children that you failed to act, that you did nothing. Because it's not will the war start, it's when. Jack?
Missy says, why says hi to Pop. Michael says, having a great time with my kids and grandkids. Margaret says, that's because they're cowards.
Yeah.
They damn right they're cowards.
I know why. I got my grandson over my house. So Pop's on TV.
All right.
Hello, Mike. Say hello to everybody. My brother, like we said before, he's up.
Hope you're having a good time, Mike.
And that's right, Margaret. They are cowards. So I have my theory, my thoughts today. I'm going to say a little later what my sister and I had talked about. But before I get into that, first thing I should do is put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing.
Yeah, you know.
So here we go, folks. Got a little breaking news for the state, that position we're running for. Well, we made an error. So we're not going to be running for it this time because the election's November 8th. So apparently we didn't, we came to this idea too late. We didn't realize, it seems like Russell Fry had already stepped down from his spot. Not that he stepped down, but he's not running again because he's running for a spot as a U.S. representative. He beat Tom Rice.
Thank God.
And now he's going to run for U.S. Senate, U.S. representative, and his spot is already open. So it's November 8th is when the election is going to be. They got two folks on there already, one Democrat and one Republican. See, and here's the thing, because we're trying to do this new party. So if we were running on another ticket of a Democrat or Republican, all we have to do is clear to the Republican Party or the Democrat Party, and we'd be in. We'd be on the ballot, and that would be it. We would have to go through a primary if there was somebody against you, and but we are not doing that. So what we have to do is we have to get the entire party onto a ballot. Go ahead, Jack.
Margaret says, I thought it was 2023, and that's a shame.
Well, it's good news and bad news. Bad news is we're not going this time because there's just so much work to do to introduce another candidate late, especially one that's not represented by a party that's already there, where you're trying to get your own minor party started and going in there.
So it gives us time to build up our numbers for the Independent Constitution Party, as well as if we don't get enough numbers, we'll still have enough so Jack can get on the ballot.
So what happens? It's 2.5, 3 months. There's so much work to do. Properly to do it, yeah, man, we would do it like every other hack, and we don't want to do it like a hack. We want to do it the right way. So the good news is it gives us 2 years to get this going the right way. So for the next 2 years in South Carolina, we are going to be getting out there as the Independent Constitutional Party, where people are going to get to know us, and we'll start talking on radio shows and stuff like that, as probably not now because it's election season, and they wouldn't let me get on there as a guy coming in 2024. But the good news is that it gives us enough time, 2 years, to get the work that needs to be done and run this the right way. And what's the right way? Well, beginning with, we have to get a crew. The crew that we're going to have, we kind of got it, but we can get them in their spots and positions that we're going to need them in officially to get in there. And we'll get some volunteers lined up for raising money and getting the signatures. Getting the signatures is going to be a big deal. Getting some funds. We have a few ideas on that. I don't want to let it out yet. And another very, very important factor with the Independent Constitutional Party and having us have an extra 2 years to do this now. And this is why we can't do it in 2.5, 3 months, because it's going to allow us for the next 2 years to get volunteers, funding, signatures. And here's the most important part, I feel. It's going to get us into those communities that nobody goes in. No running politician goes into these neighborhoods and says, what's going on? What's going on? If it's a poor neighborhood, why are you lagging? What is South Carolina not offering you? And why do you feel it's not offering it to you? And there'll be some things that will be outrageous. It's because of this, it's because of that. And there'll be some things that will be very important and, very sound in ideas. And that's all communities. It'll give us an opportunity to get into all of these communities, working class communities, places that can't find work communities, places that are having housing problems, places that are having education problems, places that are having problems getting work there. There's a lot of places that has no industry, right in our district, 106. So it's going to give us 2 years to really, really work on
To get to know the issues.
we have issues that we're going to run on, and they're not going to go away. And I know these two guys that are running for it, they ain't going to cover them because we're a unique party. And we're going to get the right kind of folks involved, and we're going to get all of the folks represented because that's what we stand for. So that's that. Good and bad news. We won't be there on the ballot on November 8th. We thought we had some more time. We had until after January and probably working closer to the springtime for a special election. But apparently that's not the way. Apparently he had, because he's not on a ballot. He's on a U.S. representative ballot. So apparently he stepped aside until he gets this, and then whoever gets elected will get sworn in. So again, to go with what Dennis was saying, to change gears now, changing gears. So Putin did land in Iran for talks with the Iranian government, along with the country of Turkey. And here's the big thing you got to worry about with Turkey. Turkey is a NATO member, and I think they're part of the executive. They're one of the top members. They have votes that count big time on it. And they're completely against having Switzerland and Finland become part of NATO. And they have threatened, hey, listen, what we can do? We can vote those two, and they won't be able to get into NATO on the side of Russia. This is Turkey, all right? So, again, like Dennis said, we have Iran now meeting with Turkey and Russia, and China's always there pulling the strings because, China's running the whole show. They're just sitting back quietly and seeing what happens to their puppets. They're sending them out there, seeing what the show's, the opening show, and they're taking notes. They got their pen, and they're like, don't do that. Oh, that we can do right away. So, and I tell you the truth, if our politicians, if our representatives, the people we voted to go to Washington, D.C. and do our job, there is one way to stay out of all of this, and that's the United States. Be the powerhouse it's supposed to be. If we were energy independent, if we were charging, what is that called? Money when they import
Tariffs.
If we were running tariffs, if we were self-energy sufficient again and started getting them open, which I'm going to talk about later, all of these things, if these policies were written into law, everybody in this world would be afraid to cross our line because they know we had our shit together. And if you want to screw around with us, I'll read one thing out of the Constitution, the way it's supposed to be done. They know they'll be annihilated instantly, very quickly, if we weren't worried about arms deals and making money for ourselves as representatives and senators and worried about the goodwill of the country, which they don't. So again, folks, if you don't want, the writing on the wall is very grim. It can be turned around like this. If this government acted the way it's supposed to act, and that is old saying, speak softly, carry a big stick. People don't want to see that stick coming around because it hurts. But right now we got a bunch of pansies that they think they're picking sticks for s'mores. Oh, this is not a very good stick. Come on, put that down. Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Margaret says personal contact to listen to the we the people will go a long way. I like it. Elizabeth says politicians only go where they get the money.
That's right.
Margaret says we stand for American people. Margaret again says China has too many investigations in energy, scary. Elizabeth says Trump made USA energy independent.
Yes. Well, first off, Elizabeth, say hello to John. And we miss you guys. Here's the problem with happened with Trump. Okay? Trump did executive orders because he had a weak party called the Republican Party. And for 2 years, they didn't do what they were supposed to do. So if we can get politicians in there that will abide by this, the way I'm going to show it later, we can get these things passed, and then we never have to worry about it again. You know, with modernization of certain things, yeah, we have to tweak things. Like, freedom of the press. Yeah, freedom of the press. When they wrote freedom of the press, they didn't realize the invention of the radio, the telegram, then the TV, and now the internet and 24-hour cable. They didn't foresee that. So, yeah, when you have these laws put into effect, 100 years later, yeah, sometimes you got to tweak them out. You got to get put a little, put another little article in it, or just to keep it up to the times. You may have to put a one extra article in there, or whatever it takes to get it done the right way. But the ones we have, because when you put an article in, it also comes with clauses. And so what's an article and what's the clauses? So articles are like this. Here's the article. Article 2, that's in the Constitution, is about the President of the United States. So first one's a section 1. Boop, 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 boop. So you see all these paragraphs? Each paragraph is a clause that goes with section 1, article 2. So yeah, sometimes you have to tweak them out and get them for different technologies that come in. The law doesn't have to change. Human nature doesn't change. God's nature doesn't change. Technology changes, and so then you have to add that in. Go ahead.
Well, technology's getting better and better every day. Yes, do we need to make changes to the Constitution, like adding term limits, adding certain words?
I tell you what, talk to you about that term limits. I want to ask you, and I'll ask everybody out there. If they get the amount of states that they need to do a Article 5
Convention
of the States, do you think the Senate and the House will allow it to go to the states, or do you think they'll put term limits on their own way? Do you think they'll intervene? They'll be like, heads up, they got the numbers. Every state says they got the numbers to do a state convention. Do you think that next day they're going to go into the House on both sides of the chamber and get it?
Nope.
I do. I do not think. I do. There is no way. I don't think that they're going to let the people dictate to them the time that they're going to be allowed to have.
I think they're that arrogant. They're going to make it all the way.
What do you guys think? Elizabeth, Missy, and Margaret, and Mike, if you're still listening.
Margaret says no.
Okay.
And Elizabeth says Trump had lots of sellouts that are Republicans and name
rhinos.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem with the parties.
Look at Liz Cheney.
That's why when you have parties that are running about money and not the Constitution, they're not going to be there. Go ahead.
Missy says no way.
I got news. You're all wrong. All right. I'm telling you, there's no way these guys are going to let us dictate how long they're going to be allowed to be in office.
I think that
they're going to put term limits of 100 years.
No, they're that arrogant. They're going to make it go right all the way.
I guess Mike's not listening. He ain't answering.
He knows better than say
yeah. Well. Anyway, I have another question too,
What do you
and
got?
we'll ask everybody. We'll get feedback on that question. So keep an eye on it, and we'll see if we have anybody respond back to that on if these guys in office will actually let us go to a state convention or if they'll take care of it themselves. The second question is, all right, you ready? How far into next year do you think Biden will? First of all, you think Biden will make it to the end of his term of 4 years? And if not, how far into next year do you think he's going to make it?
I don't think he's gonna make it.
Not me either.
I don't think he's going to make it, but he's definitely going to be in there longer than 2 years. It's critical that he stays there longer than 2 years because then his vice president gets to run on 2 terms on her own if she's able to win one. Because any vice president, anybody that comes into office with less, closer to the end than the beginning, if they pass the point of no return, they get 2 elections on their own.
Elizabeth says he's done. Margaret says Biden will not. And I'll see him making it to the midterms. Missy says absolutely not. I don't think he's going to make it to the end of the year.
I think he's got to make it to the end of January. If he's going to be cruel, the oil on my mother's windshield when I was a kid, it's kicking in. But he'll make it to the end of January so that Kamala will have two terms on her own.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha. Well, if they cheat. Well, I can't say that because we don't. In our opinion, if she cheats.
Especially if they take a shellacking in the midterm elections.
I got that question from Bill O'Reilly. He was asking. He has a 30% that he makes it through next year. I don't give him 30%. I think that guy. I don't think that guy knows he's in the White House now. He's trying to figure out what are all these people opening the door for me all the
His
time.
approval rating is 31% now.
Yeah, but Kamala's is lower than his.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Elizabeth says, don't you hear he has asthma, cancer, and now COVID?
Oh yeah, I heard
Margaret's
he got
like,
COVID.
Margaret's like, but you're right. There's only hat to hold him up so we can keep Democrats in office. Laugh out loud. Elizabeth says, remember when he ran, he said if he needs to, he will make up sickness and step down.
Well, listen, I remember distinctly when Nancy Pelosi put that other clause in on the 25th Amendment. And she's like, no, this isn't for Trump. No? Then who's it for?
It's
Who's it for?
It's for Biden.
The absent-minded professor that's coming down the pipe now. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Jack mentioned our Independent Constitution Party. Yeah, we don't have all the answers. I will tell you this though: we're going to do whatever it takes to win back this country.
We'll work on them day and night.
We know when this is all over, if we lose, we can look at our families and say we put up one hell of a fight. But when we win, and we will, it will talk about us for years and how this new party started in 2022, broke into the political scene and changed the course of history. The only question is, do you want to be part of that? Or are you looking to fit into their new world order? Because we ain't fitting into their new world order. They ain't coming to take my guns away. See, the choice is yours and yours alone. I say it all the time. It's time to rise up, patriots, and help our party vote out these tyrants called politicians, aka political hacks, losers, lowlifes. We told you so many times that numbers don't lie. Research this for yourself and find out. Data tells us that over 70% of people want a new party they want to get involved with instead of the current Democrat and Republican parties.
That's why there's such a huge following for the independent party. But there is no independent party.
No.
Bernie Sanders is the leader, the highest elected official in the independent party. He's literally an independent. There's your leader for the independent party. So you've got Democrats and Republicans jumping ship to get away from exactly that guy. And there he is.
You gotta stop being afraid to get involved.
Ted Cruz got elected as as a Tea Party member of the Republican Party. Guess what's not in front of his R anymore? The letter T. It's not there anymore. He's not a Tea Party guy no more. He's just a regular Republican.
Yep. Stop being afraid to get involved with a new party. You want it, it's here. It's called the Independent Constitutional Party. Excuse me. And we are here to change politics.
Takes a lot of work, like we just showed you. We're getting boxed out now because of the workload that has to be done. It's infeasible. We could do it, but it'd be done the wrong way. Why do we want to start off wrong?
We need your help to achieve that. Listen, there are so many smarter people than me out there. So many smarter people than Jack out there.
Yeah,
Maybe not Jack Jr.
Shit.
Junior
There's plenty
is
of
pretty
people
smart.
smarter than me.
That a lot more people are more involved in politics that have immense knowledge that could help this party. There's so many of you out there.
We can't even figure out how to get monetary from what we're doing every week. We've been doing this for 2 years and we still haven't gotten a nickel.
Who cares? I'm having fun.
Just saying.
That's true.
Boy, oh boy. We're going to be some fundraisers. Hey, anybody know how this works? Nah. Let's go to the party, though. Let's tell them what we think.
With our party, everyone will have a voice. Your opinion counts. And each day will get better and better. We will find the right candidates that care about this country. More important, our Constitution. We'll restore hope and opportunity to each one of us. We'll get back to the rule of law and prosecute criminals. We're talking about crime or immigration in a little while. We talked about crime last week. Go back and listen to that. From day one, we will hold these politicians as well as our people accountable for their actions. We have to get rid of these tyrants. They're bringing this country down every day.
Remember, these tyrants that we got to get rid of, we put there.
Above all, this party's going to be honest with the American people, with the state of this nation. This State of the Union address isn't going to be about what I'm going to do. It's going to be how bad this country is and what we're going to do to change it. Not going to tolerate anything less than that. Everyone, each of us should know what's going on in this country, not just politicians. They can take their classified material, like the top secret clearances, and they can shove it. Because there's stuff that we need to know. We need independent Constitution. Yeah, you.
Easy for you to say.
Independent Constitution Party people elected to political office, not just in Congress, but around this country. Independent judges on the Supreme Court. We're tired of this two-party system. Stop believing these two parties are the answer to our problems. They are not. The current answer at this time is the Independent Constitutional Party. It starts with you joining today. Show us you're a fighter and want to be a part of the solution, Jack.
All right, so I'm going to get into what I got. It's a little boring today. I guess that's why I had fun to begin with. So at the end of the show last week, I was talking to my sister, Margaret. And she said, listen, you made some great suggestions. But what you're saying is good. All right, you said it. How do you make it happen if we start getting into office? All right, so we have to start explaining. We won't do it every time, but when we get a good stack of situations and topics that we keep rambling through and listen, we all know what's right and wrong, and we know how they're right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So we say, that's wrong. We can't do it. Right. Okay. That's like talking about, I like my steak medium well. Yeah, me too. Okay, so we're done. So how do you do it? This is how you do it right here. Now, I'll show you this because I've showed it to you before, but I'm going to read out of this one. It's called the United States Constitution. This is what you have to get it. So, like I said last week, policies. This country has been independent since 1776, like I said last week. So there's not a policy that we haven't had that go through the ropes and then gone through down the pipe that we don't know, yeah, that works, and no, that don't work. But they keep reinventing the wheel. And they keep reinventing the wheel. And then they reinvent the wheel. Why do they keep doing this? Because it gives them something to do. And it makes them think they're smart.
These parties are like this. They don't know how to bring us up. Right there, they're stuck.
Exactly. So, to debate is illegal right now. Here's the United States Constitution, all right? It's the supreme law of the land for 70% of the people that go to public school that don't know it. And it starts off, we the people.
That's us.
Right. Not what Joe Biden said, we the people, them in the chamber. No, it's we the people out here. We are the sovereign, which means free. We are the free of this country. We elected you to go do our job in Washington, D.C. and represent us. We are sending you to make sure that you come back and you have passed bills and legislation that agree with us. And you're not doing it, but we keep electing you back in. We missed our check. in the checks and balances of government, of republic government. And what was this Constitution written for? It was order to form a more perfect union. A more perfect union, which it's constantly working on. Establish justice, which we have a justice system, but nobody's listening.
It's a little broke right now.
Yeah. Ensure domestic tranquility. They ain't doing that either. Provide for the common defense and promote general welfare. See this promote general welfare? That's what progressives hang their hat on. It says promote general welfare. So this argument of promote general welfare goes back to the founding between two very good friends of the framers, Alexander Hamilton and James Madison. All right? They wrote the Federalist Papers. So Alexander Hamilton was like, federal government has power to do everything. Right here, it says it, promote general welfare. We can do whatever we want. James Madison, the writer, says, no, we can't. Because look, in Section 8, we have a list of things that we're allowed to do. We have, Orderly Section 9, Section 3, we have a list of things we're allowed to do. Outside of that, we're not. So to promote general welfare, if we're allowed to do whatever we want, what the hell do we make a list for?
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So they made a list, obviously, to promote the general welfare according to this list. That's in the Constitution, the law of the land. It is also written to secure the blessing of liberty to ourselves and, more importantly, our posterity, our future. And that's our kids and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren, our nieces and nephews, that we are really, really falling apart. In the process of writing this, they later on write, they do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. So ordain, what is that? So ordain means they bless, this is it, we got it. But the next two words, they establish. So they're still building it. They're still making it a more perfect union. And that's what we were talking about before. So here we have, ensure domestic tranquility. So we had gone through all kinds of things. These animals are letting, in Washington, D.C., they're letting everybody write. Washington, D.C., when you get somebody like, what's her name, Maxine Waters, say, she took a trip all the way to Minnesota. You'll keep writing.
New York.
She says, if you see a Republican in a gas station, a gasoline station, you make a scene. It says right here, Section 6, the senators and representatives shall receive compensation for their services to be ascertained by law and paid out of the Treasury of the United States. They shall, in all cases except treason, felony, and breach of peace, be privileged from arrest during their attendance at sessions of their respective houses and in going and returning from same, and for any speech or debate in either house, they shall not be questioned in any other place. So here's two things. So they're saying, the reason why they put this in here is because they want you to be able to say what you have. If it offends somebody, too bad, it offends you, but this is my backing on it. But you're breaching speech. And something, if they knew what this was, you're going to tell me the squad wouldn't be all over this? Oh, yeah. Representative Jim Johnson from Ohio, he's breaching peace. Jim Jordan. Well, let me tell you something. So is people like AOC, Ilmar, Waters. These people that are saying for you it's okay to riot, that's a breach of peace. So they're not allowed to say that. They're not allowed to tell the public to go out and riot. Go ahead, Jack.
Margaret says, do you chase their tails? Elizabeth says, who is responsible? U.S. politicians with a law degree, and they train to twist the door.
Well, here's the problem with lawyers that are in the House, in government. So first off, everybody becomes a lawyer. I mean, even stupid Joe Biden. Now, this man's been dumb his whole life. He's been a liar. and a dummy and a follower. He's never run anything. He's in a perfect place, government.
A liar and a dummy.
Right. So
Failure.
what happens is, we've gone over this before. They go over the Constitution in law school 0 times. Never. They never read the Constitution in law school. What they do there, I have no idea. Number one. Number two, they're allowed to do a lot of things as a lawyer when they're talking to people because it's confidentiality laws. So when they go and they have to testify about what they said about this or that and any kind of fugazi corruption that they're involved in, oh, I can't talk about that. Client, privilege, confidentiality. I can't. So if I go there as the big fat dummy I am, because I don't have a law degree, and I come over to this guy and I start talking, hey, Dennis, do anything, we go back and forth, and something goes wrong with Dennis, and he brings me down the railroad with him, I don't have that. I got to say, well, this is what it is. I mean, we had that one guy from New York State, Rocky something, I forget what his name is. He didn't have that, and everybody else did. So anyway, again, as an independent constitutional party member, if we had a few people in there, we could be like, whoa, pick me. I got something to say. You people aren't allowed to do this. This is a breach of peace. You can't do that. It's against the law. So you shouldn't be able to go in there. And I think it's 2/3 can vote them out. All right, next thing. All bills for raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives. Every bill which have passed the House of Representatives and the Senate shall, before it become law, be presented to the President of the United States. See how that works? We come up with a law. We send it to the Senate. The Senate can do the same thing, just not as far as spending money. They can't do one raising revenue. That has to be done in the House. They got the purse strings. And then when everybody agrees to it, bingo bango, goes to the President. Now, if the President says, nah, I don't like it, well, then he sends it back to the House, to Congress, both sides. And they have to reconsider it. And if 2/3 agree with what the President said and they redo it, then it'll be a bill. If not, then it ain't going to go through. This is how it's supposed to be going on. So when these people are trying to spend all the money that they're spending, this is what's supposed to stop them. This was what keeps the President of the United States out from doing executive bills. He's not supposed to be doing executive orders. That's against the law. There's no place in here that says it.
They have the power to do executive. We talked about that before too.
Hold on, let me see what else we have.
We have to put these politicians in check now. Do you hear this? Right now. We're not trying to scare anybody, but be scared.
Okay, so we're talking about being energy independent. We've been saying that now for a couple of years. Trump had it through executive order. So here's Article 1, Section 8. Clause 1, 2, 3. To regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with Indian tribes. All right. So we're supposed to be taking care of commerce, which is oil. All right. That wasn't an invention back then, but it is now. So we have nothing, all our refineries, none of these oil companies are willing to rebuild a refinery. They can't drill. They're going back on laws that they're not supposed to be allowed to go back on. So what should be going on? The Senate or the House of Representatives, if we could get in there, we will put a bill through stating. So what are we going to state? We're going to state that drilling prospects should go out every X amount of years. Let's say, just for argument's sake, because we don't have the legalities of this time. Every 2 years, these oil companies should go out and prospect for new places to drill every 2 years. Refineries, by X year, should be all remanufactured, and 10 years after that, either remanufactured again or built new to keep up with population. Pipelines, same thing. Every year inspected, every 2 years updated. Same thing with the equipment. All the equipment should be done the right way. These offshore drilling. Make sure that there's no mistakes like we had that one in the Gulf that broke open and screwed all that. If these companies were able to stay up drew the law. So you would write your bill, and it would go through the House of Representatives. Then it would go through the Senate. Then it would go to the president's desk. If he don't like it, he can write what he don't like about it, send it back. Well, guess what, dude? We don't care if you don't like it. 2/3 of us do in each house. So here, put this in your pipe and smoke it, you dummy. We're going to keep this going. But why won't they do it? Why won't they do it? Because then their work is done. This Constitution was written. They were only supposed to meet mandatory once a year. Once a year, mandatory.
And now they're year round.
Now I think they're home only a couple of months a year. They have Christmas break, summer break, and I think spring break.
Election break.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well.
You don't hear from them for 4 years.
Yeah. So again, to explain this again, so commerce among the several states. So we can have that here. So we should have these companies out there prospecting where they're going to be drilling the next things, and they don't need to go drilling, and we can put that in the clause too. Here's a clause. You're not allowed to go use these ones that you have found for later on generations because that's for our posterity. You're not allowed to start drilling that until this one's done. And then now you modernize these other ones. As old as our refineries are, they're still the cleanest refineries, the cleanest oil in the world. It comes from the United States. It is the most clean, refined fossil fuels on the planet. It's here in the United States. But this asshole that we got running the country now, he's bent the knee to all of these shitbags they're running practically rust out there. They don't care what it is. Yeah, take this. We don't care. We didn't want to use it anymore. So there's that. You go to other things. We talked about carrying a big stick, talk softly and carry a big stick. Here's the one thing. Section 8, clause, whatever it is, 7 or 8. To raise and support armies, but no appropriation of money to that use shall be for a longer term than 2 years. Now, there's obviously, like World War II, there was no way that was going to be able to be wrapped up in 2 years because we had two fronts on both sides of the world. We were in Europe and in Asia from Japan. So obviously you would have to go back and ask for funding for another 2 years, reword it, and put it back in there. Here's the problem. They don't even declare war anymore.
Nope.
So now they don't care how long they go. And these guys are making a fortune on arms deals. So that goes back to what we would like to do for an amendment, term limits, and you're not allowed to trade on the stock market. I mean, Nancy Pelosi's husband just put $5 million in tech stock 3 days before she was going to vote on one. Are you kidding me? $5 million this guy's putting in.
A little bit of insider trading.
Hello. So listen, if you, any of your family and any of your staff that's sitting in this house while these votes are going on, make any kind of money on any kind of arms deal and any kind of bill that's made, you're going to jail. You're going to get arrested for insider trading. It's against the law. That's why they should have their money in a special bank account that has the same return each year that the stock market has. If the stock market comes up 12% high this year, well, then you make 12% interest. If it comes back 5%, net lower, well, then you lost 5%. Maybe you should pay attention to what you're voting on. One last thing. Again, Section 8. To provide for calling forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrection, and repel invasion. We went through this maybe 2 years ago. Texas and Arizona and New Mexico are getting blasted with an invasion from
We're
Mexico.
going to talk about immigration here in a second.
So right there it says if we were in the house, one of them, if we were in one of those chambers, excuse me, I'd be talking to the guy next. You from Texas? You're from Arizona? Well, it says right here that you can do it. It says it right here. No state shall, without the consent of the Congress, lay any duty of tonnage, keep troops or ships of war in time of peace, enter into any agreement or compact with another state or with foreign power, or engage in war, unless actually invaded or in so much imminent danger as will not admit of delay. So if I'm in there from South Carolina and Dennis is from Texas and Arizona is Jack's from Arizona, I'd be like, guys, it says it right here. You're allowed to do it. Blast that. Blast them. Send them right back.
Politicians don't know the Constitution.
They don't know. They don't even know what branches of government there are. So if I was in office, this is what I'd be standing on the floor going, "Hello, my fellow representatives or my fellow senators. It says right here, if you're on those border states, send them back to hell. You're allowed to. It says right here." So there's a few of the little things that we would try and you know, that way you get away from policies. Policies never work because they go away.
No way.
They go every time there's an administration change. One group gets into power and the other one doesn't. God forbid they make a law. If you made a goddamn law, maybe you'd be able to go home and see what the hell your constituents want out of you.
Would you call 4 million people an invasion?
Yeah, a little bit.
I would too.
I mean, especially when this all was going on, COVID. You know, we didn't know what COVID was all about. Ha ha ha! Because Department of Health and Human Services is supposed to save us on that.
So immigration is back in the news this week. So last week we talked about economy and crime being the top two concerns on voters' minds for this midterm election. Immigration is the third biggest concern. But where the hell is our administration now? I want you to know that Republican and Democratic administrations have held the majority for at least 2 years of their term. They've held a majority. That means Republicans had control of both. And they've never been able to secure the border. Trump tried. But he had Paul Ryan and his party screwed everybody over.
Mitch McConnell too, who's still there.
Yep. But
This started with
they
Reagan.
failed as people on immigration.
Yeah.
Mitch McConnell today he started with he failed miserably to secure our borders, especially its current administration. I call it an invasion.
It is an invasion.
I say that now because over 4 million illegals have crossed our border since Biden took office. And the DHS director said yesterday that we have a secure border. Mayorkas is his name.
Yeah.
This is what he said. Look, the border is secure. We are working to make the border more secure. That has been a historic challenge. No shit, dude. Another overpaid bureaucrat with zero experience. Experts are saying that by the time Biden leaves office, 9 million migrants may have come into this country. That is a huge invasion.
Well, it depends. If I'm right and he doesn't make it to, maybe not.
I have no clue what border he's talking about. Maybe it was the fence around the Capitol building last year.
Yeah, no, it's the
that
fence.
was secure.
It's the fence they just put around his house off the beach in
That's secure too.
Delaware.
But what I find funny is the hypocrisy by some Democratic elected leaders. Now all of a sudden, Democrats want to secure the border because we have midterm elections coming up. When before they talk shit, well, we need to let people in.
Yeah.
Trump's this, Trump's that. They feel vulnerable to losing their seats, so they've been hammering Biden to relax until after the midterm elections. You can't make this stuff up, folks. It's mind-blowing. These people, a lot of people, actually fall for lies from these politicians. The thing is that they don't care if Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico have migrants, just as long as they stay in those states. If these small border towns cannot handle it, oh well, it's your problem. I don't know if you heard, but the Texas Governor Abbott, has been busing migrants to Washington, D.C. for a few months. Now Arizona is doing the same thing, and it's starting to put a strain on D.C. resources.
Yeah, the mayor there was complaining.
Yeah, I've heard about.
Did you hear what DeSantis is doing?
He's busing them to Delaware.
No, but besides that, when he finds out what companies are flying them in and busing them in, he's cutting funding from Florida to them.
Good.
You want to bring these immigrants in here illegally? Goodbye. Don't look for anything from us.
So far, more than 6,000 migrants have volunteered to go to D.C. And D.C. establishment is getting really pissed. They're concerned now. They didn't care about migrants in Texas or Arizona, but in D.C., no, we can't have that. This is what the Washington mayor had to say. Well, this is a very significant issue. We have for sure called on the federal government to work across state lines to prevent people from really being tricked into getting on buses. They were tricked. We think they are largely asylum seekers who are going to final destinations that are not Washington, D.C. I worked with the White House to make sure that FEMA provided a grant to local organizations that's providing services to these folks. I fear that they're being tricked into nationwide bus trips when their final destinations are placed all over the United States. That's what the D.C. mayor said, all because they're taking up beds in homeless shelters.
Well, here's the thing, too. Tom Fitton, that magazine we got, he's through Judicial Watch. They put a FOIA in. So Texas, New Mexico, I don't know if New Mexico, no, Texas and I think it was Alabama sued the administration, the Biden administration, for not enforcing the Stay in Mexico clause that Trump had put in. And a lower court said, yeah, he has to abide by it. And now it's going to the Supreme Court. It was heard in April. We haven't heard anything back yet on what they decided on. But what border security has been doing to appease this court is they've been sending back 40. Oh no, you got to go back because of this. And that the court's been like, okay, you're sending somebody back, and that's it.
It's ridiculous. But we wouldn't expect anything less from Democrats regarding immigration or just about any topic you want to talk about.
Or Republicans.
Washington, D.C. has no plan or even know what they're doing with the illegal immigrants. Sad because when you have illegal immigration, leads to other crimes, sex trafficking, illegal drugs entering this country, multiple gang members from other countries. You don't know this, but the drug issue on our borders spreads to all 50 states. That's where everything's coming from, folks. Great job, Biden. Another screw up that keeps piling up with all the others for your failures to lead.
What about the one in New York? It was fentanyl. It's not considered an opiate narcotic. So they made an arrest. It was worth millions of dollars. They were all let loose without any bail because that's not a drug.
Right.
It's fentanyl.
It's a drug.
Yeah.
Is this actually what you voted for? You wanted this? Again, data tells us that you don't want this now. You get what you voted for, folks. And we, the people, can only blame ourselves for the mess this country's in. We keep electing people like Biden, Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Chuck Schumer, AOC. What's the other one? Pelosi.
Yeah.
So can't blame anyone but ourselves. Can't blame anyone but ourselves, folks. So time to wrap things up. Jack, you want to give us last call?
Yeah. What I want to talk about is maybe next week we'll talk about Buttigieg, our transportation secretary.
I don't really like him.
Yeah, he's an idiot. So I have another question for you. To me, it seems like today's government is afraid that we succeed. If we succeed, I don't know what. You know, my question to you is what do you think this government's thinking if we succeed? Why are they making it? Why are they putting, I mean, this Constitution was built on you to succeed. This is the United States. It's a republic. It's capitalism. Capitalism never runs out of money. It just keeps producing more money.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, this is the perfect system for everybody to succeed. I don't understand why on both sides of the aisle, they keep putting traffic in our way to succeed. Why don't they want us to be successful? Because, and I'm talking to the Republicans out there too. We know the Democrats. Well, we know the socialists. They don't want you to succeed because they want all the money there. But what are the Republicans doing? Again, Trump had both houses in the White House, and they refused to pass his tax cut into law. Now, it says in the Constitution that they're not allowed, they have to pass taxes equally to everybody in the United States, and they changed it with an amendment under Wilson, the first progressive president we had. And that's why we have so many different tax brackets, and that's why it's so convoluted. Because the more convoluted it is, the less you understand. So why? Why is both parties so enamored without failure, allowing us to struggle every day, hope we get our bills paid every day, try and scrape together a good weekend or 4 days with our wife and children? Why is this? And I have a particular question, and I've been asking it for the last couple of weeks now, to the Republicans out there. Where is the line in the sand for the Republican Party to fail you once again before you say enough? Enough is enough. You are not doing what I'm asking you to do when I elect you to do my job in Washington, D.C.
Don't you feel deceived?
When are you going to say, we put you there because the socialists are destroying this country? But either you are helping them by, well, if you're in the Senate, by allowing these secretaries and justices and all of these different agencies, you're voting them in so they can run these agencies and do these social programs. Because the Democrats can't do it by themselves. They need a certain amount of Republicans to vote with them. And they are. And it's hurting us every time. When are you going to tell your Republican Party, I'm done with you? You have failed me since as long as I can remember. You used to hang your hat on one man, and his name was Trump. And this guy was exhausted by the time he left office, fighting with his own party, expecting what he had to deal with the Democrats, with the socialists, not realizing how socialist the press is. But his own party would not go along with what he was trying to contribute for the American people. So when, I ask you, when do you have enough? When do you realize that your party is not representing you?
Oh, we realized that a while ago.
And why? At every turn, they get in our way for our success.
That's right. They do that well. So as registered voters of the United States, we must get out of the mindset that Republican and Democratic parties are the only answer we have. If you want failure, you stay with those non-achievers who no longer believe the Constitution belongs to we the people. We're offering an opportunity with your help to change the way people look at politics, United States politics. Every country out there is looking at us.
And when we say we're looking for your help, we would like you to send us what needs to be done in your states to get the independent constitution there. We need to figure out how to get into all these states and start getting these state and local representatives in there.
You need to realize that our nation, we were born equal and have the same rights as the next person. And the only one that can take away those rights is the God we worship. I say it every week. Rise up, patriots. The timing is right now for this new party. The timing is right now. Join the Independent Constitutional Party on Facebook. Do your homework on these issues we talk about, because knowledge is power. See you next week at the Tavern.
Good job.